But the silence of unspoken truth, you see her smile, you hear her laughter, you watch her strength. But beneath that surface there are layers, complex, emotional, deeply human layers, that most men never truly understand. Not because women are mysterious creatures, but because vulnerability is rarely handed over freely. Tonight, we uncover 5 psychological truths women often carry quietly, not to manipulate, not to control, but to protect, to survive, and to love without losing themselves. If you understand these 5 secrets, you won't just improve your relationships, you will transform the way you see women, and perhaps the way you see yourself. Let's begin. Before a woman gives her love, she searches for something far more essential than romance. She searches for safety. Not physical safety alone, but psychological safety. The quiet assurance that her inner world will not be mocked, minimized, or mishandled. This is not a game she plays. It is an instinct as ancient as humanity itself. Deep within the human psyche lies a protective mechanism. For centuries, a woman's survival depended not merely on strength, but on discernment, the ability to sense who was safe and who was dangerous. Though the modern world has changed, the nervous system has not forgotten. When she meets a man, her mind may feel attraction, but her unconscious begins observing. It watches tone, it listens to how he speaks of others, it notices how he handles frustration. These details seem small, yet to her inner world they are signals. You might think she is overanalyzing. In truth, she is measuring emotional climate. Can she express sadness without being called dramatic? Can she disagree without being punished by withdrawal? Can she reveal a fear without it being used against her later? These questions rarely leave her lips, but they echo within her. Imagine a simple moment. She shares a story about being hurt in the past. It is not dramatic. It is not theatrical. It is simply honest. If he interrupts, offers solutions immediately, or dismisses it with "that was a long time ago," something subtle happens. A door closes. Not loudly, quietly. She smiles. She changes the subject. But internally she marks the space as unsafe. On the other hand, if he listens, truly listens, without rushing to fix, without turning the attention back to himself, she feels something rare. Her nervous system softens. Her shoulders relax. Trust does not explode into existence. It grows like roots beneath the soil. Invisible at first, strong over time. Psychologists who study attachment have long observed that security is the foundation of deep bonding. When a person feels emotionally safe, their capacity for love expands. When they feel unsafe, even subtly, they begin to guard themselves. Many men misunderstand this guarding as disinterest. It is not disinterest. It is protection. A woman may test in small ways. She may disagree with you just to see how you respond. She may delay replying to see if your reaction carries anger or patience. She may express a minor boundary to see if it is respected. These are not manipulative tactics. They are unconscious experiments. She is asking, if I give you more of me, will you handle it gently? Consider how often women are told they are too emotional. Over time, many learn to filter themselves. They present strength, humor, independence. But beneath that presentation is a longing to be fully seen without being reduced. Emotional safety means she does not have to shrink her feelings to fit your comfort. There is also a deeper layer. When a woman invests emotionally, she does not do so halfway. She entwines memory, future possibility, and identity into the bond. Love for her is rarely compartmentalized. It seeps into daily rituals, into dreams, into subtle hopes about tomorrow. To give that kind of depth without safety would feel like stepping into water without knowing how deep it goes. Men often believe attraction is the gateway to love. For many women, safety is the gateway to attraction. A man who makes her feel calm in chaos, who remains steady when she is overwhelmed, who does not compete with her vulnerability. He becomes magnetic, not because he is perfect, but because he is stable. Think of a storm. During turbulence, people do not look for fireworks. They look for shelter. Emotional safety is that shelter. It is consistency in words and actions. It is knowing that conflict will not turn into cruelty. It is feeling that mistakes will not lead to humiliation. When she senses safety, she begins to reveal layers. First small truths, then deeper fears, then dreams she rarely speaks aloud. Each layer is a gift. If handled carelessly, she retreats. If handled with respect, she expands. Many relationships fail not because love was absent, but because safety was unstable. A single sarcastic comment during vulnerability, a public joke at her expense, a pattern of defensiveness instead of accountability. These fractures accumulate. The heart does not close in one dramatic moment. It closes through repeated signals that it must protect itself. To understand this is to mature emotionally. Instead of asking, why is she distant? A wiser question becomes, has she felt safe with me? Instead of demanding openness, create conditions where openness feels natural. There is power in calm reassurance, in saying, you can tell me, in proving through action that disagreement does not equal abandonment, in showing that her emotions are not burdens but bridges. When a woman feels safe, her love is expansive. She becomes playful, creative, nurturing, deeply loyal. Her affection is not forced, it flows. But when safety is uncertain, she becomes cautious, analytical, guarded. So if you seek her heart, do not chase it. Build an environment where it can rest. Safety is not built through grand declarations. It is built through repeated moments of steadiness, through patience when she is overwhelmed, through respect when she sets boundaries, through presence when she feels exposed. In the end, she does not test to control you. She tests to understand whether she can relax beside you without armor. And when she finally removes that armor, when she invests her love fully, it is not because you demanded it. It is because you earned the quiet trust of her inner world. There is something about emotional memory that defies logic. Words evaporate, details blur, dates fade into the distance. But feelings linger like fingerprints on the soul. A woman may not recall the exact sentence you spoke 3 years ago during an argument, but she will remember the tightening in her chest, the sigh, NCE that followed, the way her heart felt, either held or abandoned in that moment. Human beings are not primarily rational creatures. We are emotional beings who justify with reason. When you speak to a woman, you are not only communicating through vocabulary, you are communicating through tone, posture, energy, and presence. Your nervous system speaks to hers before your intellect ever has the chance. This is why you can say all the right words and still create distance, and why sometimes, with very few words, you can create profound closeness. Consider a simple evening. She is tired, you are distracted. She begins to tell you about something that hurt her at work. You glance at your phone and say, it's not a big deal. Don't overthink it. The words themselves seem harmless, perhaps even practical. But what she feels is dismissal. What imprints itself in her memory is not your advice. It is the loneliness of not being met emotionally. Emotional memory is encoded deeply because it is tied to survival. For centuries, the ability to read emotional signals determined safety within relationships and communities. The body learned to remember how situations felt in order to anticipate future threat or comfort. That ancient wiring remains active. When she feels valued, supported, and understood, her nervous system registers safety. When she feels belittled or ignored, it registers danger, even if the threat is subtle. You may win an argument logically and still lose something far more important. Because she is not evaluating the debate, she's evaluating the emotional atmosphere. Did she feel respected while disagreeing? Did she feel heard before solutions were offered? Did she feel that her inner world mattered? Many men believe that if the issue has been resolved, the moment is over. But unresolved feelings do not disappear simply because the conversation ended. They settle quietly beneath the surface. They shape perception. Over time, repeated emotional experiences create a pattern, and patterns become beliefs. She begins to believe, he doesn't really listen, or I cannot be fully myself here. These beliefs do not emerge from a single dramatic event. They grow from accumulated emotional impressions. There is a profound difference between being correct and being connected. In intimate relationships, connection sustains love. Correctness feeds the ego. When she remembers how you made her feel, she is remembering whether connection was preserved or broken in critical moments. Think of a time when someone truly listened to you. You may not recall their exact phrasing, but you remember the warmth, the sense of being understood without judgment. That feeling stays. It becomes part of how you perceive that person. The same is true for her. Even in joyful moments, emotional memory is powerful. A spontaneous compliment spoken with sincerity can echo for years. A gentle touch during a difficult day can become a symbol of reliability. Small acts, repeated consistently, build an emotional archive, and that archive becomes the foundation of trust. What is often misunderstood is that sensitivity to emotional tone is not weakness. It is awareness. It is attunement. Many women are socially conditioned to notice shifts in mood, subtle changes in behavior, the unspoken tensions in a room. This attunement makes emotional experiences vivid. When you withdraw affection during conflict, she feels it sharply. When you offer reassurance without being asked, she feels that too. This does not mean walking on eggshells or suppressing your truth. It means understanding that delivery carries weight. You can express frustration without contempt. You can set boundaries without humiliation. You can disagree without diminishing her perspective. When emotion is respected, even difficult conversations strengthen bonds rather than fracture them. Over time, relationships become less about grand gestures and more about emotional consistency. She may forget the expensive gift you gave her, but she will remember whether you stood beside her during a family crisis. She may not remember the exact compliment you offered at dinner, but she will remember the pride in your eyes when she succeeded. If you want to understand her heart, ask not only what did I say, but how did I make her feel in that moment. This question requires humility. It requires stepping beyond self-defense and into empathy. Yet within that shift lies maturity, because love is not sustained by logic alone. It is sustained by emotional safety, by the repeated experience of being met rather than managed. When she feels consistently respected, cherished, and emotionally considered, her memory becomes an ally to the relationship. When she feels dismissed or diminished, her memory becomes a quiet barrier. The remarkable truth is that this power is available in every interaction. Every conversation carries the potential to deepen closeness or create distance. The choice is rarely dramatic. It lives in tone, in patience, in whether you seek to understand before being understood. In the end, long after the arguments blur and the details fade, what remains is the emotional imprint. The way you made her feel becomes the story she tells herself about you. And that story determines whether her heart opens freely or protects itself carefully. Words may dissolve into time. Feelings endure. There is a quiet contradiction that lives in the heart of many women. She longs for strength in a man, steadiness, groundedness, the feeling that when the world trembles, he will not. And yet, what she does not long for is emotional absence. These two are often confused, as though strength requires silence, as though composure demands detachment. But the soul does not experience strength as cold distance. It experiences strength as presence. From an early age, many men are taught that emotion is a liability. Be strong, don't cry, handle it. These messages shape the inner world. A boy learns to lock away fear, to swallow vulnerability, to translate confusion into anger or silence. Over time, he may master control, but he loses fluency in emotional language. When he becomes a man, he believes he is offering stability, yet what she sometimes feels is separation. A woman does not seek a man who collapses under pressure. She seeks one who can face it without abandoning himself or her. True strength is not the absence of emotion, it is the capacity to hold emotion without being ruled by it. There is a difference between a storm that destroys and a tree that bends without breaking. She is drawn to the tree. Imagine a moment of crisis, financial strain, family tension, uncertainty about the future. If he pretends nothing affects him, if he withdraws into silence, believing he is protecting her from worry, she may interpret that silence as distance. She does not want him to be overwhelmed. She wants to feel that they are standing in the storm together. When he says calmly, "This is hard, but we'll handle it," and allows her to see both his resolve and his humanity, something powerful happens. She feels partnership. Emotional absence often masquerades as strength. A man who rarely shares his inner struggles may appear unshakable, but over time, the relationship can feel one-sided. She shares her fears, her doubts, her dreams. He listens, perhaps even supports, yet reveals little of himself. Slowly, she begins to feel alone in intimacy. She knows about him, but she does not feel him. Connection requires mutual visibility. To love someone deeply is to witness their interior world. When he refuses access to that world, even unintentionally, she senses a wall. And walls, no matter how strong, create separation. There is also a subtle truth about attraction. Emotional openness, when grounded in self-control, is deeply compelling. When a man can articulate his thoughts and feelings without blaming or collapsing, he communicates confidence. He is not afraid of his inner life. He does not hide from it. That courage signals maturity. It says, "I know myself," and self-knowledge is magnetic. Consider the difference between reaction and response. Reaction is impulsive, defensive, often loud. Response is measured, intentional, aware. When conflict arises and he responds rather than reacts, she feels safe. But if his version of strength is shutting down, refusing dialogue, or dismissing emotional conversations as unnecessary, she begins to feel unseen. It is not tears she requires, it is authenticity. She does not expect him to feel as she feels. She expects him to be real. When he admits uncertainty without surrendering leadership, when he acknowledges pain without becoming consumed by it, he demonstrates depth. Depth builds trust. Many relationships suffer because men believe that by hiding vulnerability they are preserving authority. Yet authority without emotional presence becomes rigidity, and rigidity cannot nurture intimacy. She may admire his discipline, but she will struggle to feel close to him. There is something profoundly bonding about shared humanity. When he speaks of a past failure and what it taught him, she sees growth. When he confesses a fear and still chooses courage, she sees integrity. These moments do not weaken attraction. They deepen it. They reveal that strength and sensitivity are not enemies. They are partners. Of course, vulnerability without stability can create chaos. If he depends entirely on her to regulate his emotions, if he collapses into helplessness, she may feel burdened. Balance is essential. The strength she seeks is emotional responsibility, the ability to process feelings without projecting them destructively. Imagine a father teaching his son that strength includes kindness, that leadership includes listening, that courage includes honesty about one's inner world. Such a man grows not into emotional absence, but into emotional mastery. And mastery is far more powerful than suppression. When she senses that he is present, truly present, she relaxes. She does not need perfection. She needs reliability. She needs to know that when she reaches for him emotionally, she will not grasp emptiness. His steady eye contact during a difficult conversation, his calm voice when tensions rise, his willingness to say, "Help me understand," these are the markers of strength. In the end, she does not want a statue carved from stone. She wants a living, breathing partner who stands firm, yet feels deeply. She wants arms that are strong enough to protect and a heart open enough to connect. When he understands that emotional presence amplifies strength rather than diminishes it, he transforms not only his relationships, but himself. Because real power is not the denial of emotion, it is the disciplined embrace of it. And when strength and emotional presence unite, love no longer feels like a negotiation of needs. It feels like a union of two grounded souls walking forward together. Perfection is dazzling at first glance. It shines, it impresses, it creates admiration from a distance. But effort, consistent, sincere effort, is what reaches the heart. A woman may admire perfection, but she bonds with effort, because perfection feels like an image, while effort feels like intention, and intention is personal. In the human psyche, what moves us most is not flawlessness but investment. When someone tries, even imperfectly, it signals care. It says, "You matter enough for me to show up." This is what she is watching for, often without announcing it. Not whether you never fail, but whether you remain engaged when things are inconvenient, uncomfortable, or ordinary. Grand gestures are memorable, a surprise trip, an expensive gift, a dramatic declaration of love. These moments create excitement, but excitement is temporary. What sustains connection is what happens on an ordinary Tuesday evening. Do you ask how her day was and truly listen? Do you remember the small details she mentioned last week? Do you notice when she is unusually quiet? These things appear small on the surface, yet psychologically they carry immense weight. The mind interprets consistent effort as priority, and priority translates into security. She does not need you to be flawless. She needs to feel chosen repeatedly. There is something deeply symbolic about effort. It requires energy. It requires attention. It requires the willingness to inconvenience oneself slightly for another's comfort or happiness. When a man makes that choice consistently, he communicates value without saying a word. Imagine two scenarios. In the first, a man never forgets birthdays or anniversaries. He posts perfect photos, crafts perfect captions, presents a polished image of devotion. Yet in private, he is distracted, emotionally unavailable, impatient with her worries. In the second, a man occasionally forgets a date but shows up daily. He supports her ambitions. He listens when she is overwhelmed. He helps without being asked. Which relationship feels more real? Perfection often serves the ego. Effort serves the bond. A woman notices patterns. She notices whether you call when you say you will. She notices whether apologies are followed by changed behavior. She notices whether your attention is consistent. or only present when convenient. She may not narrate these observations aloud, but they shape how safe she feels. There is also humility in effort. When you try, you acknowledge that love requires participation. You do not assume her affecti on is guaranteed. You cultivate it. This humility softens the relationship. It replaces entitlement with gratitude. In many cultures, men are praised for achievement, career success, physical strength, external accomplishments. These are visible markers of capability. But in intimacy, invisible actions carry more weight. Folding laundry without being asked, sending a message before a stressful meeting, sitting beside her during a difficult moment without attempting to solve everything. These acts seem ordinary, yet they accumulate into something extraordinary. Effort tells her, I see you, and being seen is one of the deepest human needs. Perfection, by contrast, can feel distant. It creates comparison. It implies performance. When a relationship becomes about maintaining an image, authenticity fades. Effort allows imperfection. It allows mistakes followed by correction. It allows growth, and growth builds trust. Consider how children bond with caregivers. It is not because the caregiver is flawless, it is because the caregiver consistently responds. Consistency forms attachment. The same principle operates in adult relationships. When effort is reliable, attachment deepens. There is also a subtle psychological truth. Effort reassures against complacency. When a woman senses that a man continues to invest in her happiness, even after commitment is established, she feels secure. She does not fear being taken for granted. Complacency, not imperfection, erodes many relationships. This does not mean constant grand romantic acts. It means awareness. Awareness of her emotional state, awareness of her evolving dreams, awareness of how your behavior impacts her. When you adjust because you care, she feels valued. Think of effort as water shaping stone. Each small action may seem insignificant, yet over time it forms the landscape of the relationship. A single perfect moment cannot compete with years of steady presence. There is courage in sustained effort. It requires discipline. It requires choosing love when irritation would be easier. It requires patience when misunderstanding arises. It requires resisting the temptation to withdraw emotionally during conflict. When she notices effort, she feels partnership. She feels that love is not a static achievement, but a living process. She feels that she is not alone in carrying the emotional weight of the relationship. And here lies the deeper transformation. When a man shifts his focus from appearing perfect to being present, he frees himself from performance. He becomes authentic. He can admit mistakes without fear of losing worth. He can grow without shame. And in that authenticity, intimacy flourishes. Effort communicates desire. It says, I still choose you. Not just in words spoken once, but in actions repeated daily. This repetition builds emotional wealth. It creates a reservoir of goodwill that sustains the relationship during difficult seasons. In the end, perfection may attract admiration from afar, but effort builds love up close. And love, unlike admiration, is nourished not by flawlessness, but by devotion expressed through consistent action. When she sees that you are willing to try, not once, not dramatically, but persistently, she feels something deeper than excitement. She feels secure, and security is the soil in which lasting love grows. There is a quiet strength that often goes unnoticed, because it does not announce itself. It does not demand applause. It does not always wear the armor of dominance. Instead, it moves silently through responsibility, endurance, sacrifice, and emotional labor. A woman is often stronger than she allows the world to see, not because she is pretending, but because her strength has been shaped by necessity rather than recognition. From a young age, many women learn to navigate complex emotional landscapes. They sense tension in a room before words are spoken. They adjust their tone to maintain harmony. They carry expectation. To be kind but firm, ambitious but not intimidating, emotional but not unstable. These contradictions require resilience. To balance them daily requires inner discipline that few openly acknowledge. Strength does not always look like defiance. Sometimes it looks like patience. Sometimes it looks like swallowing words to avoid unnecessary conflict. Sometimes it looks like waking up exhausted and still meeting every obligation. There are battles she fights internally that you may never witness. Consider the invisible weight of emotional responsibility. In many relationships and families, she remembers birthdays, anticipates needs, monitors moods, smooths conflicts. This is not because she is incapable of doing less. It is because she feels responsible for emotional stability, and responsibility, when carried continuously, forges strength. Yet she may downplay it, she may laugh off her exhaustion, she may say it's nothing, not because it is nothing, but because she has learned that revealing the full magnitude of her burden can make others uncomfortable. So she minimizes. She continues. There is also the strength born from adaptation. A woman learns to adjust to environments that were not designed for her. In professional spaces, she may feel pressure to prove competence twice as much. In personal relationships, she may struggle to express needs without being labeled demanding. Each adjustment builds endurance. Each compromise requires self-awareness. When she cries, do not mistake it for fragility. Tears are often a release valve, not a collapse. The ability to feel deeply and still function is a sign of remarkable capacity. Sensitivity is not the opposite of strength. It is evidence of depth, and depth requires courage. Imagine a single mother building a career while raising children. Imagine a daughter supporting aging parents while managing her own dreams. Imagine a partner holding a household together during financial uncertainty. These realities are not dramatic stories told for sympathy. They are everyday examples of resilience lived quietly. What makes this strength even more profound is that it often coexists with doubt. She may question herself while still moving forward. She may fear failure while still taking risks. Strength does not eliminate insecurity. It moves despite it. There is a psychological phenomenon in which individuals who carry heavy responsibility learn to mask their fatigue to avoid burdening others. Many women do this instinctively. They become the steady one, the listener, the problem solver. Over time, people assume they are unbreakable, but unbreakable does not mean unaffected. When a man recognizes her strength without competing with it, something shifts. If he sees her resilience and honors it, not by challenging it, not by feeling threatened by it, but by respecting it, she feels deeply understood. She does not need to diminish herself to protect his ego. She can stand fully in who she is. It is important to understand that strength for her does not mean the absence of desire for support. The strongest individuals still long to rest. The most capable still want to feel cared for. When you offer support, not because you think she is weak, but because you know even the strong deserve softness, you create balance. There is also an inner narrative many women carry, the fear of being too much, or not enough, too ambitious, too emotional, not successful enough, not attractive enough. To navigate these internal criticisms while still showing up with grace requires tremendous inner work. She is often battling voices within herself that you may never hear. And yet, she continues to love, she continues to nurture, she continues to strive. That continuation is strength. Strength also appears in her boundaries. When she finally says no after years of saying yes, it is not rebellion. It is growth. When she walks away from what diminishes her, it is not cruelty. It is self-preservation. These acts require courage because they risk misunderstanding. To see her strength is to look beyond surface emotion. It is to recognize that vulnerability and resilience can coexist. It is to understand that when she expresses doubt, she is not collapsing. She's inviting partnership. When she shares her exhaustion, she is not surrendering. She's trusting you with the truth. If you truly wish to connect with her, acknowledge her battles, not in a dramatic way, simply by saying, I see how much you carry. Those words can be transformative, because strength that is unseen becomes lonely. Strength that is recognized becomes shared. In the end, her quiet resilience is not meant to compete with yours. It is meant to complement. When two strong individuals respect each other's endurance and offer mutual support, love becomes a partnership of equals. She does not need to be rescued. She needs to be understood. And when you recognize that behind her softness may lie years of silent perseverance, you begin to approach her not with condescension, but with admiration, not with assumption, but with curiosity. And in that shift, something beautiful happens. Her strength no longer has to hide. It can stand openly beside yours, not as a threat, but as a testament to the depth of her character. These are not tricks. They are not manipulations. They are human survival patterns shaped by emotion, biology, culture, and experience. When a man understands that women seek safety before surrender, emotional connection over logic, strength with vulnerability, effort over perfection, and recognition of their quiet resilience. He becomes different, not louder, not dominant, but conscious, and consciousness changes relationships. If you truly want to love a woman, do not try to control her mind. Understand her heart. Because the greatest power in any relationship is not dominance, it is awareness. And awareness is rare,